Unveiled, the incredible janitor who spoke 9 languages and changed lives forever. Miguel, the janitor of Southside High, was not your average custodian. At 45, he embodied the spirit of resilience, a testament to hard work and unseen strength. Each morning, he would don his worn-out uniform, a simple blue shirt and faded jeans, with the hope of brightening the echoing hallways filled with chatter and youth. His smile, as warm as the Chicago sun, was often the only light that pierced the clouds of indifference from teachers and students alike, who saw him only as a low-wage worker, not the complex man he truly was. He spoke 9 languages, an incredible feat born from dinner-table conversations with his immigrant parents. They shared stories rich with culture, teaching him that diversity was a way to see the world, not just tolerate it. With every passing student, Miguel took note of their struggles, offering a nod or a kind word. His ability to connect with them was genuine. He saw beyond their labels to the heart of their battles: bullying, fear of failure, homes where dreams felt suffocated. One day, the school announced a contest to celebrate academic achievements, but Miguel feared it would overlook students who didn't fit the typical mold. With the compassionate push of his spirit, he stepped forward. "Let me help," he offered to the administration. They chuckled, dismissing him as just a janitor, yet they didn't see the unique perspective he brought. So, he took it upon himself to mentor the marginalized, encouraging them to share their stories in their languages and cultural expressions. News of their achievements began to spread like wildfire, igniting hope. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But just as the tides were turning, the administration's jaws tightened around outdated beliefs. Miguel stood before them, heart pounding, as he delivered a stirring speech on community, perseverance, and the true essence of achievement. The room was charged with emotion. Even those who overlooked him felt the pull of his words. Then, disaster struck. A miscommunication led to his sudden firing. Just like that, the man who had begun to weave their lives together was cast aside. The students erupted in outrage. Social media lit up with their testimonials. They shared how Miguel had transformed their paths, how his encouragement had lifted their spirits. The hallways that once echoed with apathy thrummed with his name, a rallying cry of unity and resilience. As Miguel observed from the sidelines, his heart ached with confusion and disbelief. Had it taken losing him for them to realize his worth? In that heated moment, a pivotal question hung in the air: would they rise to honor a humble janitor, or let his inspiring narrative slip away unseen? The energy built, and the stage was set for a powerful confrontation. Could Miguel reclaim his place? Would the community come together, forging a future that valued all voices, especially his? Miguel watched as students huddled in groups, phones buzzing with messages that spread like wildfire. They were crafting a movement, their voices uniting under one banner: justice for Miguel. Each post emphasized how he had changed their lives. It felt surreal. The man who spent years sweeping floors and scrubbing desks was now the center of a storm. In the following days, the school became a backdrop for chaos and camaraderie. Students wore orange, Miguel's favorite color, filling the hallways with a vibrant wave of solidarity. They stood outside the administration building, chanting his name, their determination palpable. Miguel felt his heart swell and ache all at once. He wanted to dive into the sea of faces and embrace them, but his uncertainty held him back. What if they're just fighting for a moment, not for me? Yet, each time he saw the banners they created, the messages of gratitude and hope plastered across the walls, he felt a flicker of something igniting within him, gratitude mixed with disbelief. These kids believed in him. They saw the value he brought, even when he couldn't see it himself. Every echoed cheer began to chip away at the doubt and confusion inside him. As days turned into a week, the administration found themselves under siege. Media outlets caught wind of the protests, framing Miguel not just as the janitor, but as a symbol of resilience. Reporters flocked to the school, capturing powerful moments as students shared stories on camera, their voices trembling with raw emotion. "He taught me to speak up," one girl said, her words punctuated by tears. "He showed me that my voice matters." With the cameras rolling, Miguel's heart raced. His narrative was no longer just his, it belonged to a community. Suddenly, the school that once felt isolating began to transform around him, the walls echoing laughter and resilience instead of indifference. One afternoon, after the latest demonstration, Miguel received an unexpected call from the principal. She wanted to meet. Tension vibrated through him as he stepped into her office, every instinct telling him to back away. But then, he remembered the faces outside, their hopes swelling like a tide, pushing him forward. The principal, a stern-looking woman with glasses perched low on her nose, seemed out of place in the warmth of Miguel's spirit. "Miguel," she began tightly, "we made a mistake. You should have never been let go." The words, though genuine, felt peculiar coming from her. He rated her sincerity with skepticism. "Why now?" he asked, an edge to his tone. "Was it the kids? Did they make you see me?" "Yes," she admitted, her voice softer, almost regretful. "The truth is, we've overlooked what you do. This school is more than grades and accolades, it's about connection, and you have that in spades." Miguel studied her, an uneasy truce forming in his mind. Was this a chance or a trap? He could reclaim his role, but at what cost? Would he be able to inspire real change, or would he just return to the shadows? The conversation boiled down to one question: could he trust them again? Just as doubt settled in, there was a knock on the door, and a group of students rushed in, led by Lucy, the girl he had mentored about speaking her truth. "Miguel, we need you!" she exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement and urgency. "What's wrong?" he asked. "We just found out the school board is meeting this Friday. They plan to discuss how they handled your firing. We want you to speak." The room fell silent, a weight resting on his shoulders. Could he stand up and fight for not only himself but for those who had fought for him? A wave of determination surged through him as he took a deep breath. "Okay," he replied, his voice steady. "I'll do it." As the students erupted into cheers, Miguel felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. But with that hope came a powerful realization: this was just the beginning. With each step toward the board meeting, he could either reclaim his place or forever change the narrative of what it meant to be heard. Would the truth they fought for be enough to dismantle the indifference woven into the school's fabric? The warmth of the afternoon sun flooded through the windows as Friday approached. Miguel felt the weight of the moment bear down on him like a heavy coat. He paced his small apartment, glancing at the mirror where his reflection conveyed a mingled sense of excitement and anxiety. Today was the day he would stand before the school board and share not just his story, but the collective voice of everyone who had rallied behind him. As he prepared, memories surged through his mind: the countless hours spent sweeping floors, chatting with students, their laughter filling the air. It felt like ages ago, but in truth, it hadn't been that long since he was just the janitor. The world outside his door had changed dramatically in such a short span, evolving from one of solitude to solidarity. His phone buzzed on the table, snapping him back into the present. It was Lucy, sending a message that read, "We're here. Ready when you are." She and the others had become his lifeline. Each student who believed in him added fuel to his determination. He took a deep breath, steeling himself. "Let's do this," he murmured, tucking his notes into a folder. The papers trembled slightly, a reminder of the storm inside him, but he wouldn't let fear hold him back. The drive to school felt surreal. The streets were alive with chatter and energy. As he arrived, the atmosphere pulsated with anticipation. Students were gathered outside, dressed in vibrant orange, chanting chants of encouragement. "Miguel! Miguel!" echoed in waves, each cheer lifting him higher than the last. Entering the building, his heart thudded in his chest. He passed familiar faces, ones that had once barely acknowledged him now lighting up with pride and purpose. The confidence growing in him was infused with their hope. He could feel it building as he approached the boardroom, each step resonating with the rhythm of his heartbeat, a drum of resolve. Inside, the room was filled with school board members, stern-faced and shifting in their seats. Miguel took a deep breath, recalling the faces of the students who had stood by him. He could wear their pride like armor. "Thank you for gathering today," he began, his voice steady yet soft. "I stand here not only for myself, but for all of you, for every student, every story, every hope." He locked eyes with the board members, daring them to look away. "It's easy to overlook the impact of someone like me, a janitor. But that's where you're wrong. Sometimes it takes a quiet voice to speak the loudest truths." Miguel continued, recounting those moments of connection, where kindness bridged gaps, where laughter ignited resilience. He saw Lucy nodding vigorously, and it sparked something deeper. The warmth of community rushed through him as he spoke of seeing students grapple with their voices, coming alive right before his eyes. The air between them buzzed with unspoken agreement. As he concluded, silence fell. For a brief moment, Miguel could almost hear the heartbeat of the room in collective contemplation. The board members exchanged uneasy glances as if realizing the weight of their decisions. But just as he lowered his notes, one board member, a stern lady seated at the far end, spoke up. "You have a lot of heart, Miguel. But we need to consider all aspects." At that moment, Miguel sensed an obstacle. The support he rallied had created noise, but could it drown out the skepticism that still lingered in the room? In that heavy silence, he felt the collective breath of the students behind him, and a rush of conviction surged within. "Change starts with trust," he replied, his voice unwavering. "And I'm asking you to trust in the worth of everyone here." As the board's discussions began, Miguel's heart raced. Would they see it too? Would they finally understand? The stakes couldn't be higher, and the true challenge loomed ahead. With every word hanging in the balance, who would emerge victorious, and what consequences lay ahead as they decided the fate of not just Miguel, but the spirit of an entire school. The board members exchanged hushed whispers, their faces tight and scrutinizing. Miguel felt their eyes hash over him, measuring his worth against a backdrop of policies and budgets, as if reducing lives to statistics was the norm. His heart raced, thumping loudly against his ribcage. Yet, in that heartbeat of silence, he forced himself to breathe deeply. He thought of the students behind him, their faces lit with hope and anticipation. Each one of them was a reminder of why he was here. Their dreams weighed heavily on his shoulders, but he would not let them down. "Change does start with trust," the stern lady echoed after a moment, folding her hands tightly in front of her. "But what about the resources? How do we know this newfound passion will translate into real improvement?" Miguel stepped forward, feeling the pull of gravity shift with him. "This passion is a driving force, one that has already begun to inspire change," he replied, trying to tamp down the tremor in his voice. "These students thrive when they feel seen. I've seen their grades improve, their attendance rise. When they felt valued, they responded in ways I never thought possible." Behind him, he heard murmurs of agreement rippling through the crowd. A few students held signs emblazoned with phrases like "We matter," and "more than a title." Each one was a testament to their belief, and Miguel drew strength from their unwavering support. "And what is going to happen when they're back in a classroom?" Another board member interjected, leaning forward. "You can't expect the magic to happen without the right tools and bright ideas to engage them permanently." That comment hit harder than he imagined. It stung. Miguel paused briefly, looking over to Lucy. Her eyes sparkled with encouragement, reminding him of a conversation they had during one of their many late-night planning sessions. Suddenly he recalled their laughter as they brainstormed ways to ignite creativity in those dreary school walls. "You might not see it, but these students don't just need resources," he said passionately. "They need mentorship, they need hope, and they need to believe that someone cares." A janitor inspired them, and that essay start. There was a flicker of surprise on some board members' faces, as if they had never considered the contributions of someone like him in that light. "Sometimes it's not about fancy gadgets or endless funding," he continued. Sometimes, it's just about seeing each other as individuals and understanding our worth. He let that hang in the air. It wasn't the standard argument they expected. For the first time, he felt some tension lift. Just then, the board chair, a man with a weary look, quieted the room. We need to wrap this up. Miguel, I appreciate your passion, but we have to consider budgets and protocols. Miguel held his ground, the silence thickening. But aren't we talking about transforming lives? He pressed. If today ends with yet another missed opportunity, then what does that say about us? The future is here, waiting for us to take a step. As the board discussed silently among themselves, a glance exchanged between two members caught Miguel's eye. This was his moment to dig deeper and break through. What if we start small? Miguel proposed, an idea forming. We can pilot a program. Let me show you the impact, show you what this change could mean for our students, for our community. It can begin with just one classroom, one after-school program, one chance to open doors. As he spoke, a flicker of hope ignited in the room. It was still uncertain, but there was movement, ideas shifting through the atmosphere. And just like that, everything felt on the edge. Would they take him up on it? Would they let him lead this experiment? The tension hummed in the air as they weighed the possibility. Outside, his students were still chanting, their voices piercing through the walls. Hope surged in him again, but doubt lingered like a shadow. He had laid out his heart, but would they grasp it? As silence settled over the board once more, Miguel knew they stood at a precipice, about to either leap forward or retreat into old habits. What would their choice reveal about their true values? He held his breath, bracing for the answer that could change everything. The chair of the board finally cleared his throat, breaking the quiet that had fallen like a heavy curtain. Let us say we entertain this idea of a pilot program, Miguel. But who will lead it? Who will provide the necessary oversight? Miguel's heart raced. The question loomed, heavy with implications. I will, he said, not hesitating. The words tasted crisp on his tongue, a declaration of intent. I'll take the lead. I know these students. I understand their needs. What better way to show them we care than by putting someone in front of them who believes in them? Murmullo filled the room, a mix of surprise and contemplation, and Miguel could sense the shift he had longed for. Lucy caught his eye and gave him an encouraging nod. He could feel her support strengthen him even more. If we really want to inspire change, we need to have someone in that classroom who understands the pulse of the students, he continued, his voice resonating with conviction. I'm not just teaching subjects, I'm amplifying voices, and I want every student to know that their story matters. Another board member, a reserved gentleman with glasses resting low on his nose, leaned back, analyzing Miguel. You've been dismissed as just a janitor. How do you plan to transition into an educator, even for a pilot program? People often underestimate the power found in the most unlikely places, Miguel replied, meeting the gaze of each member around the table. It's not the title that matters, it's the passion and commitment to fostering understanding and support. I've been privy to their struggles, their dreams, and their resilience. This isn't some detached project to me, it's personal. With every word, he felt a spark of energy ripple through the crowd behind him. Students shifted eagerly, their signs now waving like banners of hope. Who better to connect with these kids than someone who understands? We can build something real here, a model that shows education transcends traditional classrooms. The chair considered this, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. And if this pilot fails? He asked, a hint of skepticism in his voice. Miguel clenched his fists, willing himself to stay calm. Then we learn what doesn't work. But if this succeeds, it could open doors for so many. I refuse to sit by and watch these kids miss out on opportunities. Can we really afford to continue doing what hasn't worked? The room fell into a contemplative hush again, the weight of Miguel's words settling in. Outside, the chants grew louder, as if they were pushing open the doors of possibility. At last, the chair turned to his colleagues. The murmurs started again, voices rising and falling like a tidal wave. What Miguel suggests is unconventional. It challenges our norms, said the stern lady who had challenged him before. But perhaps that's exactly what we need. Miguel's heart soared. There was a shift in the air, a thin current of possibility. Students began whispering to each other, their excitement palpable, eyes bright with anticipation. Let us vote, the chair finally said. We'll allow a pilot program under Miguel's leadership, one classroom, and we'll evaluate after 6 months. Miguel blinked, disbelief washing over him. They had said yes. He felt a rush of emotion spill over, buoyed by the students getting louder outside, chanting for a cause that now felt like it had real momentum. As he prepared to respond with gratitude, a loud crash echoed behind him. The door swung open, revealing a police officer standing there, a frown etched on his face. We need to clear the area, folks. This rally is getting out of hand. Confusion rippled through the spectators. Fear prickled at the edges of Miguel's excitement. Would they really shut this down now, just when things were finally starting to happen? He turned back toward the board, desperation flooding his veins. Wait. We can't let this end like this. This is their moment. We need to show them we truly believe in the hope their voice brings. As he spoke, anticipation crackled in the air again. What would the board decide? Would this setback snuff out the flame they had just ignited? This was a pivotal moment, one that could either deepen his resolve or shatter the foundation he had fought so hard to build. The officer's stern gaze swept over the crowd, cutting through the collective enthusiasm like a cold knife. Miguel's heart raced at the sight of the uncertainty on the faces surrounding him. They had fought so hard for this moment, and it felt like it was slipping away. Listen! Miguel called out, raising his hand to get the students' attention amidst the chaos. We've just taken a huge step forward. His voice trembled, but he pushed through. This is about more than just a program, it's about you. About all of us standing together, proving that we matter. Lucy moved closer, her eyes filled with resolve. We can't back down now. We've got the board's support. They're listening. We can show them that this community is united, and we won't go quietly. Miguel caught fire from her determination. Around them, students began to chant louder, a collective waking of spirits. We are here! We are here! The vibrations of their voices began to fill the room with unexpected power, reverberating against the very walls that once felt so confining. The board watched, a mix of shock and awe crossing their faces. Miguel could see their resolve beginning to waver. This is what we can do, he shouted over the din. We can inspire change. But we need to be brave. Are we willing to fight for what we believe in? The police officer fidgeted, perhaps unsure of how to respond to the rising tide before him. We can contain this if you all just disperse peacefully, but the students were not ready to relent. No! They shouted, some holding signs high. Keep our voices loud! We believe! Miguel felt emotions swelling inside him. They weren't just voices. They were hearts beating, stories woven together in a tapestry of hope. He stepped forward, eyes blazing, fervor igniting within him. We'll be heard, he declared, turning back to the board. This isn't the end. You can be a part of something incredible. Help us build bridges instead of barriers. The chair of the board raised his hand, a gesture to still the chaos. The murmurs from the board members intensified. Miguel only had a moment, but it felt monumental. What's it going to be? He asked, lowering his tone, locking eyes with each member in turn. Are you still committed to this change? Because we are. The room held its breath, the air thick with tension. Just then, the chair spoke, his voice steady but not without concern. We'll allow them to voice their opinions. But we need order. He looked at the officer. Let us ease the tension, and give them a space to share their thoughts. Relief washed over Miguel, but it was quickly overshadowed by the urgency of the moment. Thank you. Thank you, he said, the words pouring out like a dam bursting. Together we can create a safe space for these kids to thrive. But we can't do this alone. Every student nodded, eyes shining with determination. The officer relented, stepping back slightly, the pressure easing just enough for hope to breathe. Yet Miguel could feel the weight of the fight ahead. It was only the beginning, and he knew there would be obstacles. Just imagine, he said, glancing at the students with a renewed fervor, what we can achieve together. The lives we can change. Are we ready to start this journey? The crowd erupted in approval. Miguel's heart swelled. It wasn't just about leading a program. It was about igniting a movement. As he prepared to lead them into that new space of possibility, Miguel took a deep breath, sensing the shift in the air. It was electric. But would they all stay united through the storms to come? The real battle was just beginning, and once again, Miguel felt the pulse of his students echoing in his heart, urging him forward into the unknown. Would they withstand the challenges that lay ahead? As the students began to settle into a tentative calm, Miguel looked out over the sea of hopeful faces. Each one carried stories of struggle, dreams, and victories yet to come. A quiet sense of purpose washed over him. They had finally cracked the door open, and now it was time to push through. Listen up, Miguel called, bringing their attention back to him. We need to be organized about how we take this momentum forward. First, I want to hear from you. What does our future look like? What do you want to say to the board? Lucy stepped closer, her confidence infectious. We can share personal stories, why this program matters to us. Our voices and experiences are our greatest weapons. The crowd began buzzing. Ideas flowed freely, each soul lifting the other. What if we had a rally? Shouted one student. A march, maybe? Another chimed in. Miguel felt the spark in the air grow brighter. They were brainstorming a movement, a message they could all stand behind. Those are great ideas. But let us make sure we're tactical about it, he suggested. If we gather in unity, we'll show them our strength. We'll show them we can't be ignored. Miguel looked around at the fervor building, the fire rekindling in their hearts. Then a quiet voice cut through. A girl named Mia, shy and often overlooked. What if we invited some teachers or community members? They might share doubts or fears we can address. It was a brilliant suggestion, and it reminded Miguel that everyone, no matter how small, could make a big impact. Yes. That's perfect, he exclaimed, a smile breaking across his face. Let us bring everyone into this. The more voices, the louder we'll be. As the plans took shape, the atmosphere shifted. Fear turned into excitement. The board members watched, curiosity drawing them closer. They were witnessing the birth of something special. Miguel could sense a turning tide, but as ideas were proposed, another feeling crept in. Doubt. What if they failed? Miguel cleared his throat, addressing the crowd. We've come so far, but remember, we're fighting against a system that's hesitant to change. Some people might resist what we're trying to do. The murmurs returned, partially in agreement and partially in distress. He quickly backtracked, but that's why we have to work together. We inspire each other, and we can't let fear hold us back. The students nodded, resilient determination shining in their eyes. We won't quit, shouted one boy, catching the momentum. Who are we? Miguel prompted, sensing unity in their voices. We are here. They chorused back, stronger than before. Exactly. And we will be heard. Can we count on each other? He scanned the crowd, landing on each face that had grown so dear to him. They were warriors now. Yes. They shouted in unison, the energy lifting Miguel, propelling him. Then let us get to work, he declared, giving way to a new sense of urgency. Ideas flew back and forth like lightning, charts sketched in the air, plans formed on their faces. As the excitement surged, Miguel barely noticed the time passing. They were riding a wave of exhilaration, organizing protests, planning speeches, and crafting a message so powerful it would have to be heard. Yet deep in the back of his mind, a nagging question lingered. Would the board truly accept them, or would they attempt to shut everything down again? Miguel couldn't shake it off. As hopeful faces surrounded him, his heart raced with anticipation and a trace of dread. Okay, he said, trying to focus the energy. Tomorrow, we gather again to finalize our plans. But remember, we'll need everyone on board. Everyone. The students dispersed, ignited with hope, yet Miguel couldn't ignore the feeling in his stomach. Battling an established authority was never easy. As he stood there, watching them leave, he wondered, was it simply bravery that would lead them forward, or would it require something more than they knew they could give? How far were they all willing to fight for change? The sun dipped low in the sky, painting everything in golden hues as Miguel walked home. Each step felt heavier than the last. Hope surged through him, yet shadows of doubt curled at the edges of his mind. What if they were too small to make a difference? What if the board dismissed their voices as nothing more than a fleeting whisper? As he turned the corner, Miguel spotted Lucy sitting on the stoop of her porch, her brow furrowed in thought. He hesitated, unsure whether to interrupt her reverie, but her gaze met his. "Hey, Miguel," she called with a weak smile. "You okay?" "Yeah, I guess," he replied, plopping down beside her. "Just thinking about everything we're planning." "Me too," she admitted, her voice softening. "It feels really big, doesn't it?" "It does," he said, running a hand through his hair. "But also overwhelming. What if they don't listen? What if it all blows up in our faces?" Lucy sighed, leaning back on the porch railing. "You know, even if we fail, it's still a step forward. We're using our voices. That counts for something, right?" Miguel nodded, appreciating her optimism. "Yeah, but I feel this pressure. It's like everything depends on us. What if we let everyone down?" Before Lucy could respond, a shrill laughter erupted from the street. A group of younger kids raced past them, their carefree voices ringing through the evening. Miguel watched them, remembering when he used to run like that without a care in the world. "Man, I used to love just playing outside," he mused. "Now all this feels so serious." "If we can change things, maybe those kids will have a better future," Lucy said, her tone earnest. "That's what they're counting on us for." Her words hung in the air, a challenge that sliced through his doubts. Maybe it wasn't about just them. Maybe it was about everyone who felt their dreams were locked in a cage. "Okay," Miguel finally said, breathing out slowly. "Tomorrow, we'll bring even more voices in. Teachers, parents, anyone who cares. Let us show them we're not alone." "Yes," Lucy responded, her eyes sparkling. "Let us have stories from parents, from kids, from anyone. Everyone should feel a part of it." Just then, Miguel's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, glancing at the screen. A message flashed from a number he didn't recognize. "I heard about your movement. I want to help." Miguel's heart raced. Who could it be? Curiosity and concern intertwined as he typed back quickly, asking for more information. "Who is that?" Lucy asked, her interest piqued. "Not sure yet," he replied, hope mixing with caution. "But I've got a feeling we're about to get some unexpected help later that night." As he lay in bed, Miguel stared up at the ceiling, thoughts swirling. Who could this stranger be? How would they fit into their plans? Trusting someone unfamiliar felt risky, but so did every choice they were making. As sleep began to creep in, he pondered his emotions. Was he ready to accept help from an unknown source? Or would it take more than just their core group to tip the scales toward real change? Morning arrived too quickly, and with it, determination surged as he pulled on his shoes. Today was crucial. Their resolve would be tested in a way it hadn't been before. Everyone would be counting on him. Could he rise to the occasion? And what awaited them when all their voices came together? Miguel's pulse quickened as he made his way to school, the sun barely peeking over the horizon. The streets were still quiet, but inside him, thoughts raced. What would he say? How would they gather everyone? On the way, he passed a few familiar faces, students heading to the same destination. He felt the weight of their hopes and dreams resting like a mantle on his shoulders. He forced a smile, but inside, a storm raged. When he reached the school, the atmosphere was different. The air crackled with an electric tension. Students were buzzing, and the hallways echoed with whispers of their planned meeting. Miguel and Lucy had agreed to announce their movement to the student body today. They wanted to rally as many voices as they could. Lucy was already waiting by the front steps, a group of students around her. Her eyes lit up when she saw Miguel, and for a moment, the weight of his doubts faded. That's when he spotted someone at the back, a tall figure with wiry hair and a serious expression. They locked eyes, and an instinct flashed inside him. It was the mystery messenger. "Hey," he said when he reached Lucy, trying to keep his voice steady. "Do you see that guy over there?" Lucy glanced over, and her brow furrowed. "Yeah, who is he?" "No idea. But he texted me last night. Said he wants to help." "Maybe he has something important to share," she suggested, glancing back at the figure, who seemed to be waiting cautiously. Miguel nodded, feeling drawn to the unexpected visitor. "Let us talk to him." As they approached, the noise of the gathering students faded into the background. The tall boy's demeanor was calm, yet there was an intensity in his gaze that made Miguel uneasy but curious. "Hi, I'm Miguel. You texted me?" Miguel introduced himself, heart pounding in his chest. "Yeah, I'm Leo," he replied, his voice low but steady. "I've been following your talks about change. I believe in what you're doing." "That's great." Lucy jumped in, beaming with enthusiasm. "We're trying to gather everyone together to really make our voices heard." Leo nodded, his expression turning serious. "I've seen a lot of movements start, but it takes more than just passion. You need structure. You need strategy." "What do you mean?" Miguel asked, feeling a surge of both hope and apprehension. "I can help," Leo said, meeting their eyes with a renewed intensity. "I have experience working with student groups before. I can facilitate meetings, organize events, and even help spread the word. We need to make them listen." Miguel exchanged a glance with Lucy. Could they trust him? But the urgency in Leo's voice tugged at something deep inside. "Okay, let us do this," he finally said. "But it has to be about all of us. We need the entire community." "Agreed," Leo said, a smile breaking through as he seemed to sense Miguel's determination. "We'll start small, gather stories, share experiences. People need to feel connected to this fight." As they began discussing their next steps, a hum of excited chatter started rising around them. Miguel could feel a shift. It was as if a wave of energy surged through the crowd, coaxing them into something bigger than themselves. Just then, a familiar voice floated past. "Hey! What's going on?" It was Mrs. Taylor, their favorite teacher. "Miguel, Lucy, and Leo, right? What are you all plotting?" She stepped closer with a knowing smile. "It's not plotting," Lucy laughed, her eyes sparkling. "It's organizing change." "Good," Mrs. Taylor said, her tone one of genuine encouragement. "Count me in." In that moment, something shifted, and Miguel felt the thrill of possibility wash over him. But that thrill came with a question pressing at the back of his mind: what further challenges awaited them when they began to unveil their plans to the school board? That was where the real test lay. As the meeting began, voices joined together, weaving stories of hope and determination, but Miguel couldn't shake the feeling that a storm was brewing on the horizon. Would they stand strong together when the waves crashed down? And what would happen when they confronted the board there? Fears laid bare for all to see? The day of the student rally arrived, pulsing with electricity. The schoolyard overflowed with teenagers, each holding signs that declared their love for Miguel, their beliefs in change, and their hopes for the future. Miguel stood in front of them, his heart racing. It felt surreal to see so many young faces sharing a united goal. A sea of orange filled the space. This vibrant color symbolized not only Miguel's warmth but also their burgeoning unity. "Today is our day," he shouted, his voice steady and loud enough to reach the furthest corners of the crowd. "Today, we come together, we stand together, and we show them that our voices matter." The students erupted in cheers, their excitement lifting him higher. Lucy stood nearby, her eyes shining as she took charge of logistics, ensuring everyone knew their roles for the day. Leo moved in the background, orchestrating the crowd with precision, ensuring that everyone would have their moment to share their stories. As the rally began, students took turns recounting their experiences: how Miguel inspired them, how he listened when others turned a blind eye, and how his presence instilled a sense of hope. The energy in the air was palpable, vibrating with every word spoken. Each story opened up another layer, revealing the multifaceted impact Miguel had on their lives. "Thank you, Miguel!" a boy yelled out after sharing how Miguel helped him find courage in his struggles with bullies. "I wouldn't be who I am without you." Miguel felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes. Validation washed over him. He realized it was more than just the words of the students. It was the very essence of community, forming a family intertwined through shared fears and dreams. Honored, he stepped up for his turn of speech. "Thank you, all of you, for standing here, for believing in something bigger than ourselves. You've shown me that every voice carries weight. And we are not just a movement, we are a united front ready to fight for change." The crowd roared again, and Miguel felt a renewed sense of purpose surge within him. This was about more than just him getting his job back. It was about creating an environment where each student felt valued, seen, and heard. And with each echo of his words, he could feel the walls of indifference around them beginning to crumble. As the crowd began to chant justice for Miguel, the sound didn't just amplify in volume, it swelled in significance. The school board members, at that very moment, walked through the entrance, not for a confrontation, but in awe of the community showcasing their voices. Their initial reaction was shock, but as they witnessed the energy and unity pulsating through the crowd, the realization of their own complacency hit like a wave. With hesitant steps, one of the board members approached Miguel. "I can see this means a lot to you all," she admitted, her voice steady, tinged with newfound respect. "What do you want from us, Miguel? What can we do to support this?" Miguel took a deep breath. This was it. "Let us pilot a program. A program that values every voice. Let us teach empathy alongside the academics. We can create events, workshops, anything to ensure that every student feels valued here." The board looked among themselves, the gravity of his suggestion sinking in. One board member spoke up, his tone shifting from skepticism to sincere curiosity. "Can you lead that task? Can you maintain this energy?" Miguel nodded, urgency thrumming in his veins. "I have the support of these students. Together, we can drive this change." The students erupted in applause again, chanting yes. 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 They believed. Their faith enveloped Miguel like a warm embrace. "Let us do it," the chair finally proclaimed, the weight of their decision resonating throughout the yard. "Let us make this happen. You have our support." As cheers erupted once again, Miguel turned to the students. "We did this. We fought and we won." And in that moment, amidst the celebration, the reality that they were on the cusp of something transformative settled in. With Miguel leading the way, the students and the board committed to a future filled with collaboration, representation, and respect. And it didn't stop at that moment. They would cultivate a culture of understanding within the school, one where every student's story mattered. As Miguel looked out over the sea of faces filled with promise and hope, he knew finally that the journey marked by resilience had only just begun. Now, dear friends, it's time to take action. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss any of our exclusive stories that could inspire you too. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Believe me, it makes a difference. We want to hear your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending, so comment below. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation together. We can spread this message of hope and change. Thank you for being part of this journey.